Picture this. You're at your grandfather's burial when a self-appointed HOA queen storms the gravesite, shrieking that your war hero grandfather, who tilled this land for 6 decades, was nothing but a squatter. She demands those 900 acres you just inherited, unaware she's just triggered the ultimate legal bear trap. In this story, land uranium-grade legal covenants, midnight stakeouts under camera glare, bribery caught on tape, arson attempts, a hidden 1962 perpetual agricultural covenant that reverts development-bound property to the state, and a community united to defend a veteran's legacy. So if you like stories like this, like and subscribe for more. My name is Riley Thornfield. 3 months ago, I rented a shoebox flat in the city. Now I'm standing in Grandpa Chester's farmhouse kitchen, the air heavy with his pipe smoke and coffee stains, trying to wrap my head around the fact he left me a $3 million estate. 400 acres of mature timber, 300 acres of pasture and wetlands, plus the homestead on 200 acres where he built his life after Vietnam. He raised me from age 8 after my parents died. Every summer night we'd sit on that porch swing, him puffing his pipe, teaching me that soil wasn't just earth, it was legacy. The shock of inheriting it all hadn't even worn off when Brandy Hutchwell, plastic fake blonde, neon pink blazer, HOA president for hire, basically crashed the funeral. Pointing her talon-tipped nail at me, she barked about community property, insisted I had no right to his land. Worse, she branded my decorated grandfather a squatter as his coffin slid into the ground. That was her first mistake. She didn't know Chester Thornfield was the world's most patient legal tactician, and I was his protégé. 2 days later, I'm in pajamas at dawn when a deputy shows up with court papers. Brandy had accused me of forging the will, convinced a judge to freeze the entire estate. 1,600 acres locked down tighter than Fort Knox. No sales, no development, not even firewood cutting without court approval. My inheritance had just become a legal hostage. While she celebrated, I borrowed Chester's surveying tools, cranked out a Freedom of Information Act request for every HOA. File Brandy had on record and found emails revealing her true agenda: transform farmland into luxury condos and a golf resort. Worse, she'd coordinated with Millbrook Development Group long before buying a McMansion in the subdivision, hoping to force a cheap sale through constant permits, environmental complaints, even scare stories about toxic waste. She'd gone so far as to Google how to legally steal farmland on the library computer. Mrs. Patterson nailed her with screenshots. Instead of panicking, I took Grandpa's lessons. Reconnaissance first, then strike. First, water rights. I remembered him pointing at old well markers on his 1962 survey map, teaching me first in time, first in right. His permit held seniority over every subdivision connection. A quick call to the county water office and a casual, neighborly chat with Brandy drove home the fact that without our well, her $1 million golf greens turned to dust. She hit back with a zoning review, unleashing inspectors to measure chicken coop distances, barn angles, and noise complaints about our rooster at sunrise. Ours was a working farm, after all. I set up trail cameras. 2 nights later, I caught Brandy's Cadillac prowling our north gate, flashlight in hand, doing a CSI of our livestock and compost, building her own evidence file. Meanwhile, I dug into HOA and corporation papers and found irregularities. No registered agent, no lawful voting procedures. Her power base was built on sand. And then I discovered it. An old tin recipe box in Chester's kitchen held a folded 1962 perpetual agricultural covenant. Should anyone try to rezone or develop the property, ownership automatically reverts to the state for conservation, every single acre, forever. Chester hadn't just bought acreage in 1962, He'd crafted a 60-year fuse on this legal bomb. Any effort to convert farmland into condos would trigger immediate reversion. Brandy had danced on the trigger for months. I called Harlan Becker, Chester's longtime attorney, who'd been waiting decades for exactly this fight. We assembled our war council. Marcus Webb, the county editor, who'd sipped coffee with Grandpa every Tuesday. Buck, Chester's army buddy at the hardware store. Mrs. Patterson, the librarian, and Dolores at the diner. Together, we fortified Chester's iron-bound strategy. I spent the week relearning Grandpa's surveying craft, planting new steel boundary markers at dawn, flags reflective enough to be spotted from orbit. We coordinated a public presentation. Marcus would blast her fraud in the local paper the same day we unveiled the covenant, survey data and all. We embedded hidden recorders along the fence line. Every Brandy misstep, every trespass, bribery attempt, arson plot would be captured, time-stamped, and ready for federal evidence. Brandy's panic escalated. First, she hired fake utility crews to bend our fence posts and inspect power lines. Then she fast-tracked a rezone application in 3 weeks instead of 6 months. When that failed, she launched a propaganda blitz. Rumors I'd hire toxic dumpers, fake environmental impact studies, paid hazmat inspector appearances on our land. Our cameras caught every second. Her dumping paint solvents into Willow Creek to create her own contamination evidence, offering bribes to County Inspector Williams, chem lab samples she'd supplied, all recorded in crystal-clear audio. She even sent armed burglars to pry open the old equipment barn by spotlight, only to flee when I pointed Chester's old shotgun from the porch. Then she tried to set that barn ablaze at 2 a.m. Gas cans, accelerant, one spark away from turning 60 years of family history into cinders. Our sprinkler system held. Our cameras filmed every frame, her pink Cadillac in the background. She filed forged insurance claims against me, accused me of arson, documents so amateur they read like a child's crayon drawing. Through it all, the community rallied. VFW volunteers kept watch. Neighbors drove by with coffee. Dolores's diner served free pies to our overnight crews. Mrs. Patterson preserved every library search. Buck coordinated donated lumber and fencing after the arson scare. Marcus's exposé ran front page with sidebars on identity fraud. Brandy Hutcherson was a serial bankruptcy artist, name changer, property-snatching carpetbagger who'd pulled the same con in 3 other states. Her hedge fund partners had sold $80 million in pre-construction condos they'd never own. She personally guaranteed the land deal, on borrowed money, on a property she could never develop. Finally, the big day, a packed county commission meeting. Federal agents, local press, outraged residents spilled into the aisles. Harlan laid out the evidence: video of night raids, audio of bribes, the 1962 covenant on the projector. Brandy shrieked her confession: threats, fraud, disrespecting a war veteran at his own funeral. As gavel fell, thunderous applause shook the courthouse. Handcuffs clicked for Brandy and her complicit inspector. The covenant locked in, the state moved to protect the land as public park, and the development scheme collapsed instantly. 6 months later, I'm back on that porch swing, watching sunrise over land now safe forever. The creek is clear, the barn restored by volunteers. We've launched scholarships for rural students, veterans retreats in the rebuilt barn, educational trails through the timber. Dolores renamed her pie special Chester's Triumph. Buck leads fishing clinics. Mrs. Patterson curates an archive on defending family farms. Marcus Webb's investigative series won a state journalism award. Chester's law on agricultural covenants is now cited nationwide. This land, once nearly stolen, belongs to everyone who stood by Grandpa's vision of genuine stewardship. And the loudest lesson of all, patience, preparation, and community can outmatch any bully. If you'd like more stories like these, please like and subscribe.